Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I've got a little bit of a different video for you today. We're going to be focusing on tools and items that are going to help improve your gameplay experience with Warhammer 40k. We're going to be focusing on tabletop related items. These are things that either help by directly making playing the game easier, things that will help with your bookkeeping, things to help you get to your games, or things that will just help create a better play experience overall. Everything that I mention is going to have an example link in the description. Just because it is the link that I provided you doesn't mean that this is the best choice that you can get, or even the one that I use. They're just examples with nice short links so that you can get an idea of what you're looking for. Now, I will not be including anything art related because if I did, this video would be 10 hours long. If you want suggestions, check out channels like Miniac, Zumakito Miniatures, or Squidmar. My personal favorite of these art dedicated channels is Mini Wargamer J. I am a very amateur painter who can't even do their layers right. Most mini painting channels are just unrealistic for my skill level with painting. Jay's videos are nice because they're very easily something that you can do, because Jay's videos aren't about using very good technical techniques or fancy tricks, but instead finding workarounds to make up for any kind of lack of experience with painting. The first section we're going to be talking about are the must-haves. These are things that are going to be required for you to play at a basic level. A lot of these are probably going to be obvious, but they're obvious for a reason. First up, we've got dice. Now, I recommend Chessex dice. You get 36 for 12. They're a little bit smaller than normal dice, which makes them easier to grab a ton of at once for those very big rolls. I know that when I'm playing my Tau and I have a brick of Crisis Suits rolling cyclic, I don't want to be rolling 66 dice 12 at a time, 10 at a time, 20 at a time. I want to grab 66 dice and just be done with it. Now, I do recommend that you buy multiple different colored sets of dice. This way, you can have main dice that can be used for rolling, while your secondary dice can be used for marking deployment zones, wounds on units, command points, things of that nature, without you getting yourself confused with which are your dice that can be rolled and which are your dice that are meant to stay on the table. After you've got your dice, go and get yourself a measuring tape. Whether it's from the dollar store, the hardware store, you can buy it from wherever. Just make sure that it's one that has a lock that can hold your tape extended. Now, I do recommend that you get one of the ones that automatically locks and you have to press the button to release it, because it does just kind of feel a lot better and a lot smoother when you're trying to get all these measurements. I used to have one where you had to press it to lock it, and it just kind of got a little bit annoying, and it actually found that it broke a lot sooner than the other ones did. Once you've got your dice and you've got your measuring tape, go pick up an army making app. The Poorhammer Podcast did an excellent video covering the pros and cons to a lot of different apps. I personally prefer Battlescribe, and I'm trying to get used to New Recruit. It's taking me a little bit of time, but the GW app is also good for new players who are still learning what units look like, want to see what their opponent's units do, need help tracking what their different units' abilities are, and things like that. It is still helpful. I don't like it. I don't like the way GW is handling their app, but it is a good solution for someone who is brand new. You're also going to need to make sure that you have ways to record a game state. This can be pen and paper that you use to record score and command points. It can be mission pack cards. You can use an app like Tabletop Battles, or you can use dice specifically designated to track that info. I do want to take a quick moment to shout out BattleBase specifically. They are a phone app just like Tabletop Battles that helps you track your game. But they do so much more than that. They also help track your game score, your roster, your stratagems. They track your previous games. They have a built-in clock. They allow people to spectate what's going on in your games in real time by looking at your scores and your stratagems, your CP, and things like that, including your phases. They let you take photos of the game within those specific phases so you can see what the board looked like at different states, so you can go back and review that game later. They also, as of recording this today, have introduced a new feature to let you live stream your games on their app. This next section is all about the suggestions that I think will likely improve your play, but you don't have to go pick up. We started off talking about dice in the last section. We're going to start off talking about dice in this section. Go pick yourself up 3 to 8 D20s. They're great for tracking wounds on larger vehicles like a Dreadnought, a Riptide, a Rhino, or even a Primarch. They're also great for tracking CP since it's very hard to mistake these for your regular dice. You can also use D12s, but those can be a little awkward for any kind of units that have 14 or more wounds. Also, go pick yourself up a line laser pointer. It's probably my favorite item that's on this entire list. It does so much to help prevent arguments of, I can see that, or you can't see this. Just use the top-down laser pointer, and if the line passes over the model at any point, you know you're good. You should also pick yourself up some objective mats. They are great for keeping track of things within that 3-inch bubble around the objective marker. I suggest that you get the neoprene ones that have the clearly marked centers that are the same size as objective markers, but make sure the center is the correct size. There are a lot of these mats that you'll find that have circles in the design that don't match 40k's base size. You can also find some plastic ones that are okay, but they can be slippery. Also, go pick yourself up a dice tray while you're at it. They are one of those things that just help keep your dice organized. You can just throw your dice on the table if you want and be totally fine, but these make it easy to quickly roll a lot of dice because you can just pick up everything that's inside the tray and just roll it again. Or you can also just avoid having your dice potentially go flying off the table or bouncing into your nicely painted models. You should also very strongly consider picking yourself up a chess clock. It's not something you're going to need for every single game, but it is something that can be very nice. Your time is valuable, your opponent's time is valuable, and having a chess clock just helps make sure that you're both taking a fair share of the time that you have allotted to actually spend playing the game. There are a lot of times where I've been in games where one player took a lot longer than the other player, and that other player who didn't get as much of the game time just didn't get to fully play the game themselves because you ran out of time to play. Definitely also consider getting some proper terrain. You can play with anything as terrain. Toilet paper rolls, Amazon boxes, Tupperware, pots and pans, cups, bowls, Lego sets. Anything works, but getting proper terrain does wonders for helping your game feel more alive, better balanced, and also just look nicer. There are a lot of options you can use for buying terrain, but if you're trying to save money on terrain, I suggest that you avoid buying from Games Workshop. Their stuff is pretty, but it is overpriced. Also, consider picking yourself up a miniature carrying case. They make it much easier to transport your models around, they keep your models safe, and they make it easier to do things like deploy quickly or clean up quickly if you can remove the trays. You can also buy pre-made ones that are just fine and work great, or you can just consider building your own. I've done it with really useful box brand and sheet metal and then some cement glue. Just glue some magnets to the bottom of your units and you're done. The last one that you should really consider is Tabletop Simulator. It's a one-time purchase of $20 on Steam, but it lets you play an infinite amount of 40k with people all over the world at any time you want, with any army you want, and any units in that army that you want. It's not quite the same as playing with models on the tabletop in real life, but it is a great way to see what armies, units, and combos you enjoy before you commit any money to the game. Finally, we've got some of the possibly nice additions. These are unlikely to work great for everyone, but for the people who it's good for, it's pretty non-negotiable. First up, we got deployment zone markers. They're little sticks of cardboard or wood, and while you could easily just use dice, these give you even more accurate deployment zones because they just stretch for so much further. It's also impossible to get these confused with any dice that you might want to roll later. It's great to keep on the tabletop because they don't take up a whole lot of space, and it helps keep track of things for things like engage on all fronts or deploy teleport homer. Definitely also consider picking up some 1-inch, 3-inch, 6-inch, 9-inch, and 12-inch measuring sticks. These are amounts that you're going to measure all the time, and having a pre-measured measuring stick for these is a great time saver and headache saver for when models are in those really awkward positions where you just can't fit a bulkier measuring tape. You're going to need engagement range, consolidation range, heroic intervention range, charge range, and deep strike range all the time. If you're playing an army that has a lot of buffs or debuffs, you should also consider picking up some tokens. If you play Guard, Votann, Tau, Eldar, or any other kind of army that does a lot of buffs and debuffs, being able to just place units next to these tokens and have it say, hey, this is going to have +1 to wound on the next turn, or this is -1 to wound on your turn. It saves a lot of headache and a lot of frustration. If you are playing a horde army, you should consider picking up some base markers. That way, when you are playing with your 120 Termagant list and you have a bunch of Termagants jammed into the same building, you don't accidentally mix up which Termagants are in which unit. If you know that red unit is over here and blue unit is over there, then it's a lot harder to accidentally take one of the blue Termagants and put them with the red Termagants and mess up your coherency. Also consider picking up movement trays. Again, this is really only for those horde lists. But if you have hundreds of models that you have to move every single turn, these are going to let you move just 10 things instead of having to move possibly hundreds. It does have the downfall that your movements are going to be a lot less precise, as the models are all going to be moving as one bulk unit, and it can be a lot trickier to accurately fit them all into cover, but it does save you a lot of time. And if you are playing by intent with your opponent, which I always recommend, then you can very easily say, like, the intent is they are all in here, but I don't want to take them out of the tray because then it's going to be more annoying. These last couple ones are going to not work great for everyone, but if you are someone who would get a lot of benefit from them, I think that they're great. First off, we've got the folding chair and the stress mat. These are really only suggestions for any kind of players who might have difficulty standing for long periods of time. There is a lot of downtime in this game where you're not going to be doing a whole lot. So being able to just sit down or having something comfortable to stand on can help players who might be older, have disability, or don't like standing for long periods of time. The final one is collapsible carts. If you're going to be at an all-day event, whether it's an RTT or a GT, being able to transport all your stuff around is super important. If you can just put all your models, all of your books, all of your dice, all of your snacks, all of your drinks into a tray and just cart it around with you, it makes it a lot nicer to not have to make all those back and forth trips, or maybe bring a backpack that you got to keep track of for the whole day. You can also very easily, if you get a collapsible one, put it in your car, drive it home, drive it to the event, and it doesn't have to be this whole big bulky thing that takes up a ton of space. Now, it's entirely possible that I accidentally left off something that feels really obvious to you, and if I did, put it down in the comments below. That way we can make sure that everybody who watches this video is going to get all of the best information that they possibly can. And that is everything I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please consider doing all the YouTube pleasantries. If you want to help support the content so that I can continue to put out videos, consider becoming a member on YouTube or supporting me over on Ko-fi. Supporters receive things like early videos, shoutouts, heavier weight on their votes for community polls for what content I do next, as well as one-on-one help with building up their lists. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next video.